Hello class, this video is to catch you up in case you took a snow day on February 5th. The last thing we're going to talk about is the price system and markets. So, one thing about prices is that relative prices are always changing. Remember, we calculated relative prices in the last chapter by taking the price of one good and dividing it by the price of another good. So every time the price of one good changes, say that good is a coffee mug, that's going to affect the relative price of a USB drive, a computer monitor, tape measure, post-it notes, bicycles, whatever it is, when we look at its relative price compared to the coffee mug. So many prices change in terms of relative prices when the money price of even one good changes. And these prices are signals. They let us know if goods are relatively more scarce or more abundant. When price goes up, that means that the good is relatively more scarce. Now, how did that happen? Well, maybe supply shifted to the left. Maybe demand shifted to the right. We don't know necessarily why it happened, but it is relatively more scarce. If the price falls, then the good is relatively more abundant. Either demand decreased or supply increased. Next thing with the market is we want to talk about transaction costs. And transaction costs are costs associated with a purchase that aren't directly part of the sticker price. So, for instance, if you want to get Jay-Z tickets, you would have to go wait in line, right? Waiting in line poses a cost to you. Now, it's not directly money coming out of your pocket that you're paying to the people on the other side of the ticket counter, but it is an opportunity cost that you have to bear. And let's say that you drove from your house over to get the tickets, and then you drove back. Well, the cost of that gasoline and your time spent on the road are also transaction costs, right? They're not directly the price tag on that ticket, but they are costs that you did have to bear to get that item. So, transaction costs are not conducive to trade, and middlemen make their living by bringing buyers and sellers together to reduce these transaction costs. So let's think about buying a used car. There's a few ways you could do it. You could go get the newspaper, or maybe more realistically check on Craigslist and try to go to people's houses, schedule a time to meet with them, look at the car, test drive it, that sort of thing. And you might even get to their house and they don't show up, or somebody already bought the car, and so then you've just done all of this preparation for nothing. So it turns out you'll have to probably go to a few different houses, and you're going to have significant transaction costs if you try to buy a car like that. Everybody knows that cars cost a little bit more money at a used car dealer, but that's because the price sticker might be higher, but the used car dealer is hoping to lower your transaction costs. You just go to one place and you get to see a whole bunch of cars, and you know that the place will be open from morning until evening, so you don't have to worry about coordinating schedules with anyone. So the extra sticker price that you're paying is partially due to your reduction in transaction costs. And we see the same thing on eBay, right? eBay brings together buyers and sellers of sometimes weird things that it might be hard to find somebody on the other end of the market for. Now, here is this album by something corporate. It's called Ready Break. They used to be my favorite band when I was in high school. And I went to buy this album on eBay, speaking of eBay, and I noticed that it was about $25. I thought that was quite a bit of money. Back then, most CDs brand new were $18. I bought most of mine for about $10. So I didn't really want to pay $25. So I did a little bit of searching around the internet, and I found some spare copies at the recording studio where they made the album. They were only charging about $12, so I ordered a few copies and kept one for myself, sold the rest on eBay. Prices communicate information to decision makers. So let's see what happened with the price. I bought the CD, I sold a couple copies on eBay, and about a year later, out of curiosity, I just logged back onto eBay to see what the price was, and it had gone up to around $40. Now, I figured something has happened. This disc has become relatively more scarce, and the price alone would have told me that. I did a little bit of investigation, and I learned that the recording studio had run out of copies of this disc, so now if you wanted one, you had to get one from someone who considered themselves to be a fan. So prices are going to coordinate and synchronize the actions of market participants, right? I might not have parted with my disc for $10, but as the price goes up, I'm more likely to get rid of mine. And we saw a whole bunch of activities like this in the iPencil video with the steak example getting to New York City. And people were acting in their own best interest. The money really motivates people. If you provide somebody with a job that's paying a higher wage, they're likely to take it because they want to earn more money. Prices can also ration economic goods, right? And this is especially evident when we look at the relative prices, because whenever you pay some money for a good, you can't spend that same money on a different good. So I want you to think about when you've noticed relative price changes in your own life, and perhaps you know what the underlying cause is, perhaps you don't, but the cool thing is that you don't even need to know why. The change in price will tell you everything